So I think it's useful to level set here. Because when we don't make good decisions. Now, as someone who begins every day with an intelligence briefing, I know this is a dangerous time. But that's not primarily because of some looming superpower out there, and it's certainly not because of diminished American strength. In today's world, we're threatened less by evil empires and more by failing states. The Middle East is going through a transformation that will play out for a generation, rooted in conflicts that date back millennia. Economic headwinds are blowing in from a Chinese economy that is in significant transition. Even as their economy severely contracts, Russia is pouring resources in to prop up Ukraine and Syria, client states that they saw slipping away from their orbit. And the international system we built after World War II is now struggling to keep pace with this new...
Like a physician, we're always on call and alert to halt the world's potential fall. However, we've been thinking a little and a lot about who we should protect and why and where and when not. Oh yeah, it's all true. We're the biggest and baddest, and not because we were always the bravest, but because we stood the test of trying times by being the smartest. Oh yeah, it's all true. We've Lean On Me led this Stand By Me nation that was undergoing a tremendous transformation with a priority to intervene when American interests or relations were threatened by a war scene. Oh yeah, it's all true. We've contended with the country's contradictions or conflicts and conducted nuclear inspections to acquire a greater degree of peace and protection for civilization. Oh yeah, it's all true. We've been slated to sustain the synergy within an international system that's been wrecked and grown weary. Oh yeah, it's all true. We've wished for and wanted a season of strength to serve as a resource for a reality that's refashionable and new. Oh yeah, it's all true.
Priority number one is protecting the American people and going after terrorist networks. Both Al-Qaeda and now ISIL pose a direct threat to our people because in today's world, even a handful of terrorists who place no value on human life, including their own, can do a lot of damage. They use the internet to poison the minds of individuals inside our country. Their actions undermine and destabilize our allies.
Safety first is our top priority, to retain America's character that's based upon a long-standing history of strong integrity as a reality. With that in mind, we'll have to consider all threats and take them seriously as we retrain our nation's response force to proactively scan and eliminate a devastating choice, or to accurately sum up danger's source. Al-Qaeda and ISIL are networks that have again and again demonstrated evil planted in a plot that deserves to be uprooted and regulated. They've become the worst of an international wanted list and public enemy number one who deserves to be dead and drowned in a sea of red. Off with their head. They're cunning and slick like a snake, with a motive or mission that's fake, and that we must take and break. Off with their head.
We have to take them out. But as we focus on destroying ISIL, over-the-top claims that this is World War III just play into their hands. Masses of fighters on the back of pickup trucks, twisted souls plotting in apartments or garages, they pose an enormous danger to civilians. They have to be stopped. But they do not threaten our national existence. That is the story ISIL wants to tell. That's the kind of propaganda they use to recruit. We don't need to build them up to show that we're serious. And we sure don't need to push away vital allies in this fight by echoing the lie that ISIL is somehow representative of one of the world's largest religions. We just need to call them what they are: killers and fanatics who have to be rooted out, hunted down, and destroyed.
Hey Al-Qaeda. Hey ISIL. Here's a riddle and a clue. How can you hear, or how can you see clear, when you find your life flashing before your face in the rear view? Nope, we're accepting no plea to not cut and burn down a bad apple tree. Don't worry, it'll all be over soon, because we said and we meant it that we were coming like the calm before the storm and the quiet just before another violent riot. Nope, we're accepting no plea to not cut and burn down a bad apple tree. Don't worry, it'll all be over soon, because we're definitely still in motion like a moonlit motion picture after dark, with shooting stars and jaws of death like a great white shark. Nope, we're accepting no plea to not cut and burn down a bad apple tree. Don't worry, soon is now, and now you're finally experiencing the prolonged pain that feels like getting hit and dragged by an American train, because a killing fanatic's fate is to be scarred up and gutted out to reveal their soul's evil stain. Nope, we're accepting no plea to not cut and burn down a bad apple tree. There's no hesitation to send you on a well-deserved permanent vacation, because our calendar says that soon and very soon is your upcoming expiration. Just a heads up, it's going to grow into a blizzard, avalanche, hurricane, and tornado on demand that's topped off with a whole lot of sinking sand. We're telling the world that there will be no trick or treat. They'll be tracked, traced, and destroyed because they're too disgusting for a simple defeat. America is more aware of them who don't care and who'll want to scare. And it'll still be rare for some rage or rampage to discourage our American spirit and deter it from tarrying with what it can bear. America will still do what needs to be done and say what needs to be said to refute the propaganda that ISIL has wrote and their recruits have read.
And that's exactly what we're doing. For more than a year, America has led a coalition of more than 60 countries to cut off ISIL's financing, disrupt their plots, stop the flow of terrorist fighters, and stamp out their vicious ideology. With nearly 10,000 airstrikes, we're taking out their leadership, their oil, their training camps, their weapons. We're training, arming, and supporting forces who are steadily reclaiming territory in Iraq and Syria.
In lands, both near and far, most Muslims are not a menace to society, but we've found some maniacs who are. In lands, both near and far, the international move has been focused on crossing borders to execute ISIL's cease and desist orders. In lands, both near and far, nation after nation is engaged and joining to ensure that ISIL's leadership has enough bad days filled with lead poisoning.
If this Congress is serious about winning this war and wants to send a message to our troops and the world, authorize the use of military force against ISIL. Take a vote. Take a vote. But the American people should know that with or without congressional action, ISIL will learn the same lessons as terrorists before them. If you doubt America's commitment, or mine, to see that justice is done, just ask Osama bin Laden. Ask the leader of Al-Qaeda in Yemen, who was taken out last year, or the perpetrator of the Benghazi attacks, who sits in a prison cell. When you come after Americans, we go after you. And it may take time, but we have long memories, and our reach has no limits.
In this land, we'll still need to enact more military force to enroll ISIL in an American anti-terrorism course. The same course where Bin Laden, Benghazi, and Yemen's leader learned that America's bark and vicious bite was backed by a congressional vote and voice. In this land, we'll draw the line and let you hang yourself by a rope. We double dog dare you to cross what we've created in honor, harmony, and hope, unless you're stressed and strained and hooked on dope, because you'll always find destruction at the end of that slippery slope.
Our foreign policy has to be focused on the threat from ISIL and Al-Qaeda. But it can't stop there. For even without ISIL, even without Al-Qaeda, instability will continue for decades in many parts of the world. In the Middle East, in Afghanistan and parts of Pakistan, in parts of Central America and Africa and Asia. Some of these places may become safe havens for new terrorist networks. Others will just fall victim to ethnic conflict or famine, feeding the next wave of refugees. The world will look to us to help solve these problems. And our answer needs to be more than tough talk or calls to carpet bomb civilians. That may work as a TV soundbite, but it doesn't pass muster on the world stage.
Our foreign policy must govern our intentions and actions so that there are no internal or international distractions, for we're always at our best when we control our military reactions. Understanding the extensions of humanity and those conflicts within certain cultures that has existed for centuries highlights what's even evident in the History Channel's documentaries. Our best measurable action must consist of a methodical pace that's filled with much grace and abounding love for one human race. On the world stage, there's a dynamic that requires much discussion and deliberation and doesn't involve mass interpretations that are not suitable for every occasion. The world requires the reasonable to reason with an historical record to balance what's right, wrong, and those memories within a heart song. Our relationship with humanity requires immediate attention, so that we may sever the negative influences that'll promote interruptions and interventions. On the world stage, threats are treated differently than a conflict, because of the character of the context that they'll depict. A Mark 4 verse 22 approach says that what's hidden will come to the light, to ensure that our actions are accountable and initiatives take flight. We must continue to act within an investigative role to properly discern and assess what we learn, and thereafter allow judgment and justice to come forth and dictate who should burn. In this capacity-building initiative, we'll continue to do greater deeds than 1. Allowing Iran with an itch to light a match and set off a nuclear scratch. 2. Sending 160,000 combat troops back to recover the family life that they so proudly discovered. 3. Building bridges of communication to heal an America-Cuba relation. And 4. Attracting corporation citizens in their countries as world developers for the development of excitement and signing a climate change agreement.
Projects like Red Spread Bridge in Kentucky over the Ohio River, built 60 years ago, badly needed repairs, one of the nation's most congested freight routes, carrying $2 billion worth of freight every single day across the Ohio River. And folks, we've been talking about fixing it for decades, but we're really finally going to get it done. I went there last month with Democrats and Republicans from both states to deliver a commitment of $1.6 billion for this project. While I was there, I met a young woman named Sarah, who's here tonight. I don't know where Sarah is. Is she up in the box? I don't know. Sarah, how are you? Well, Sarah, for 30 years, I learned, she told me she'd been a proud member of the Iron Workers Local 44, known as the Cowboys in the Sky. folks who built Cincinnati's skyline. Sarah said she can't wait to be 10 stories above the Ohio River building that new bridge. God bless her. That's pride. And that's what we're also building. We're building back pride. Look, we're also replacing poisonous lead pipes that go into 10 million homes in America. 400,000 school and child care centers. So every child in America can drink the water instead of having permanent damage to their brain. Look, we're making sure that every community in America has access to affordable high-speed internet. No parent should have to drive by McDonald's parking lot to help them do their homework online with their kids, which many thousands were doing across the country. And when we do these projects, and again I get criticized for this, but I make no excuses for it, we're going to buy American. We're going to buy American. Folks, and it's totally consistent with international trade rules. Buy America has been the law since 1933, but for too long, past administrations, Democrat and Republican, have fought to get around it. Not anymore. Tonight, I'm announcing new standards require all construction materials used in federal infrastructure projects to be made in America. Made in America. I mean it. Lumber, glass, drywall, fiber optic cable, and on my watch, American roads, bridges, and American highways are going to be made with American products as well. Folks, my economic plan is about investing in places and people that have been forgotten. So many of you listening to me tonight, I know you feel it. So many of you felt like you've just simply been forgotten. Amid the economic upheaval of the past 4 decades, too many people have been left behind and treated like they're invisible. Maybe that's you watching from home. Remember the jobs that went away. You remember them, don't you? The folks at home remember them. You wonder whether the path even exists anymore for your children to get ahead without having to move away. Well, that's why I get that. That's why we're building an economy where no one's left behind. Jobs are coming back. Pride is coming back. Because choices we made in the last several years. You know, this is, in my view, a blue-collar blueprint to rebuild America and make a real difference in your lives at home.
We're focused on projects that require repair because they look a lot worse than your hair. Freight routes are looking really scary. I wouldn't travel too long or too far because it may get a little hairy. The reps and Dems joined me for a little 1.6 billion escapade like it were a parade. Hey Sarah, how you doing? Up all night tonight and climbing skylines without any fright. I see that you're still repping the local 44 as cowboys of the Cincinnati sky who sees your front door. Sarah's on the ups and high ups working where the birds fly high in the sky. She's all about building with concrete and steel, and we are building with pride so the American dream can be real. We also want Americans to have water that's clean, so that children grow up happy about life and not looking mean. We want communities to be connected, while also assuring that affordability is selected. Parents shouldn't have to visit McDonald's drive-thru for a Happy Meal and reservation until their kids' homework is through. We the people for all American and no foreign replica, like there's a difference between a leopard and cheetah. Since 1933, it's been law that we liked and loved to help the American merchant sales keep rising above. No more, nada nada. That's all materials for infrastructures and construction, so the economy doesn't meet destruction. That's American made all day, and it's all the way up with the only American way. From the highways to bridges to additional roads, American is our economy and our products are what's being sold. We still see you in your American red, white, and blue. I know you're still watching to see what we're going to do. Stay put and stand strong. The economy right now and later on, it still won't be wrong. I'm on it bit by bit. We're not going to leave a soul, especially one that fears days with the soup line and bread roll. The economic blueprint is built and ready. For the past 2 years, our mantra has been rebuild America and keep it steady. Subscribe and stay tuned for more episodes from this video series.